membership meeting every year. Today we're going to cover our 2024 accomplishments, review our budget, and share some of our 2024 priorities. CEMA is proud to be affiliated with Operating Engineers Local 3. We have a very strong relationship. OE3 provides CEMA with the infrastructure for our organization and incredible political support. Together we are stronger. So I have the pleasure of introducing Dave Harrison and Tim Neep. Dave is our corresponding secretary, political director, and responsible for the public employees. And Tim Neep is the public employees director. And we are very happy to have them both here today. So I'm going to turn it over to them.
Oh, welcome everybody. Glad that you could join us. My name is Tim Neep, as Dolores said, director of the Public Employee Unit, and glad to be here today. And I look forward to chatting with all of you. David Harrison, my boss, is here, and I'll let him talk.
Thanks, Tim. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity to address you today. And a few things I want to report on from Local 3's perspective. But before I do, I want to recognize your staff, specifically Zeb, Lawrence, Adam, and Jonathan, and Nancy. These folks are working their tails off for all of you, and I just want to recognize them for their hard work and thank them for everything they're doing. I also want to recognize your board. And, your board, they're outside of the box thinkers, and they're always working to make CEMA stronger. So thank you for that as well. As for Local 3, we've got some really big challenges in front of us currently. And I'm going to talk about a few of those, all politically driven, and things that have happened recently since the last year's election. So I'm just going to go through a few bullet points here and then talk about those a little bit. The first one, as most of you may know, that Trump fired NLRB General Counsel Jennifer Abruzzo, and then went along and also terminated one of the appointed board members, Gwen Wilcox. This is unprecedented, as Gwen was serving in an appointed term that didn't expire till 2028. Why is that important? Because the NLRB is now without a quorum and powerless. They are an absolute defunct organization. That's a big hit on labor. Another one is House Resolution 86 by Congressman Biggs out of Arizona, calls to end FedOSHA. Next, we have a quote from U.S. Senator Mike Lee out of the state of Utah. He was quoted right after the election saying, "It will be my objective to phase out Social Security and to pull it out by the roots." Then he went on to say, "Medicare and Medicaid are of the same sort. They need to be pulled up." Next, we have U.S. Senator Rand Paul, out of Republican out of the state of Kentucky, has introduced a national right to work bill. Obviously, if this is passed, unions in this country would be decimated. We all know what the Janus decision did to public employees, and I know CEMA's unique, but that Janus decision was a huge hit to organized labor in this country, and right to work nationally would be similar, but way more catastrophic. Next, on February 13th, the California Republican Caucus sent a joint letter to President Trump calling to cut off federal funding for the high-speed rail project, where we've currently got over 400 Local 3 members working. I know these aren't all core issues to public employees and CEMA, but they are critical to the survival of labor, and that's why I'm going through some of these. Next, post-election, we had two projects in Utah worth about $200 million that have project labor agreements attached to them. Trump immediately signed an executive order banning project labor agreements, so those projects were pulled back, put out to bid, and they were being performed with non-union labor now. And then finally, the one most critical to public employees in this country, and specifically right now in the state of Utah, earlier this month, the Utah legislature passed a bill that outlawed collective bargaining for all public employees. They went round and round, and there was an 11th hour bargain, a negotiation cut that they were going to amend the bill to exclude police and fire. And it fell apart, and police and fire were lumped in with them. And so now, as of today, and the governor actually signed the bill, we thought he would sit off on it to avoid the negative impact from his constituents, but he did sign it into law. And as of right now, collective bargaining for all public employees is no longer legal in the state of Utah. Why does that matter to us? Because Utah isn't the first state that has done this. This is going around the country. Many of you may know of Project 2025. This is real. It's in our face and it's coming to fruition as we speak. And every day, when I get a phone call from somebody that says, "Oh my gosh, can you believe what Trump did?" My standard response has been, "Oh wait, you haven't seen anything yet. It's going to get worse." My wife made me promise to quit saying that because it keeps getting worse. With all this, I will say that it's not too late for you, each and every one of you, to do something. You can attend your union meetings, stay educated. We are constantly talking to our members about the importance of politics and current situations and what we can do as a union to push back on some of these things. Have those uncomfortable conversations with your neighbors, at your work sites, at your dinner table with your family. These are the things that are really going to make a difference in our country. Talk about Local 3 does for you as a Local 3 member and as a CEMA member and why we do it. Stay in touch with your union representatives, because there may be an opportunity to weigh in. It could be a simple phone call or a text or a letter that can make the difference in our survival or not. So with that, on behalf of Business Manager Dan Redding and the officers and staff of Local 3, I want to thank all of you for your continued support and let you know that we're here. If you ever need anything, reach out to us. That's what we do. So thank you, Dolores.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate the partnership. My name is Dolores Morales. I'm proud to serve as your CEMA president. I work for the probation department. Carla?
Hi, I'm Carla Collins. I'm the program manager with the County Executive's Division of Equity and Social Justice, and I oversee the Office of Gender-Based Violence Prevention. I'm so honored to be the senior vice president, and I also have fun co-chairing the Communications Committee and the Retiree Chapter Committee, both of which meet once a month virtually, and maybe you could join us as part of those actions that Dave was talking about. Next is Robin.
Good afternoon, everybody. I am Robin Rivas Romano. I am very proud to be your CEMA Executive President. I work for the Social Services Agency for over 22 years. I've been a CEMA member my entire career with the county. I'm also the co-chair of the Professional Development Committee, the Scholarship Committee, and the Retirement Committee. Mary Beth?
Well, let me.
You're muted,
Mary Beth.
Sorry, I lost that. Okay, let me start over. Hello, I'm Mary Beth Rogers. I am honored to serve as your CEMA secretary. I work for the Social Services Agency as a management analyst. I co-chair the Liaison and Membership Committee, and I serve on a number of other committees. And I'm going to pass this off to Andrew.
Howdy, I'm Andrew Crockett, CPA, and I am proud to serve as CEMA's treasurer. I work for County of Santa Clara Health Services and as a senior healthcare financial analyst there. I serve as chair of the Finance and Audit Committees for CEMA and also serve on the Professional Development Committee. I now hand it off to Jim Piazza.
Hey folks, Jim Piazza is working extremely hard right now with the RMC integration, as are a lot of our hospital folks, so he's not able to be here today. If you don't know Jim, he's a member at large, former treasurer for CEMA. He's an IT manager over at HHS-IT, and he's in charge of the badge systems and cameras and now biomed as well. So Jim's here with us in spirit. We pass it on to Mary.
Good afternoon. I am Mary Snow, proudly serving as a member at large representative. I work in TSS as an IT manager and am in the Finance, Audit, and Professional Development Committees, and I'll pass it off to Mike.
And Mike similarly has been busy with the RMC acquisition. Mike joins us on the board. He comes from the procurement department and is joining us. Mary Beth, I see your hands raised. Why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, sorry. Before I forgot to mention that we are going to have a Q&A period at the end of our presentation today. So if you have Any questions that come up, please put them in the meeting group chat, and I'm going to be gathering those and organizing them, and then we will address them during the Q&A. If we don't get to all of your questions, we are recording today, and that recording will be available as well as a frequently asked questions document with the questions that we received that we did not get a chance to answer. Thank you.
Great. And also, just so you know, we have reached our maximum of 500 people. So thank you so much to everybody for taking time out of your day to be with us here. As Mary Beth mentioned, today's meeting will be recorded or is being recorded, and it will be posted to our YouTube page. So you and your colleagues, maybe who weren't able to be here, will be able to see that in the future. And please keep those questions coming. Thank you, Monica. We're going to be collating those and answering them all at the end. And now Sandra has a few words for you.
Hi, my name is Sandra Ontiveros, and I am proud to be a member at large representing Monterey County on the CEMA Executive Board. I work at the Monterey County Council's office as an administrative operations manager. Thank you all for joining us. I'll pass it on to George.
Hello, everyone. My name is George McElroy, and I am proud to be a member at large representing the Superior Court of California, County of Santa Clara, and I am a senior accountant with that organization.
Thanks, George. Zeb Feldman here. I'm your senior business agent out of the District 91 office, and I'm pleased to be on staff with OE3 and CEMA. Primarily, I represent Santa Clara County, particularly the departments of TSS, Technology Services and Solutions, as well as the Social Services Agency, and of course, the Superior Court that George was just mentioning and hails from. Glad to be here and wonderful to see such a beautiful turnout for today's meeting. Adam?
Hey, folks. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us today. Adam Cole here, another one of your CEMA reps, primarily representing Health and Hospital. For everyone's quick note, we did reach our new capacity of 500. So if you drop off, you likely won't be able to rejoin. But as Mary Beth put in chat, we will have the whole thing recorded and up on the YouTube page. So if you have to drop off partway through for any reason, you can catch the rest there. You pass it off to Lawrence.
Thank you, Adam. Hi, folks. This is Lawrence Su, one of our OE3 CEMA business agents, serving the rest of Santa Clara County, primarily folks in public safety and justice and general government. I'll pass it on to Jonathan.
Thank you, Lawrence. Jonathan Brown, one of your 4 CEMA OE3 business agents, primarily assigned to all of Monterey and Santa Cruz County. And with that, thank you everybody for joining us, and I'll pass it back to Lawrence to tell you how you can contact us.
Absolutely. We have our administrative assistant, Nancy Rocha Ortiz, who's at the CEMA office, and she really does the important job of helping connecting members to the business agents as well as the CEMA Executive Board. To reach out to her and to contact us in general, you can call 408-289-9691, emailing us at help@sscma.org, using the Contact Us page through the website at sscma.org/contact, or we also have a physical location at the office on 1737 North First Street, Suite 370 in San Jose, California. Alrighty then, I'll pass it on to our esteemed CEMA President, Dolores Morales.
Thank you, Lawrence. Thank you, Dave, for kind of sharing a little bit about what's happening in the world today. We want you to know that the union is here for you and you can count on us. Scary times right now in terms of what's happening. Now more than ever, there is an importance on public service and the importance of union and what we do in terms of fighting for your rights, and that includes your safety. We are proud that CEMA is one of the most professional, organized, and strategic unions fighting for your rights. With operating engineers, we're about 40,000 strong. I'm going to pass it on to George to talk a little bit more about Superior Court.
We recently negotiated a new 2-year contract with the court in which 79% of the membership voted in favor of the new contract. Also, as part of the contract, we expanded remote work and voluntary reduced work hours. Furthermore, during the past few months, we have had 17 members another court union that is seeking to join CEMA, and we're actively working with them to affect that. And we are proud also to have one of the highest membership densities in CEMA at 90%. I am going to pass it on to Zeb.
Thank you, George. So at the Superior Court, we have a couple of benefits in each of our chapters that are absent from our other chapters. And this plays into what I've been calling our ladder strategy, where every time we get a benefit in one contract, we're building a rung in a ladder that makes it that much easier for other chapters to realize that benefit. And the court is no different. At the court, they have a wonderful primary remote program where certain classifications are designated as being almost exclusively remote. Maybe they come in once every 2 months, once every month. And that's something where the Superior Court is demonstrating what could be for some classifications in other units. We haven't achieved it in any other unit yet, but it creates that establishment of a local employer that has a particular way of doing business that we can then export and point to for other units. Similarly, the court was able to take advantage of some of the benefits that Monterey County led the way on and established service pay, longevity pay, merit-based longevity pay. You hear it by a lot of different names. The idea is that we were able to take a benefit that Monterey got and export it to the court, and we now have contract language that locks that in for us. So that's something where the court is a shining example. As George pointed out, we have 90% union density at the court. That's a phenomenal figure. It's unparalleled. It's the envy of our union. And the reason for that, the reason that those members are seeking to join us is because of our brand. And what's our brand? A brand's a promise to the consumer. And the consumer is you, the member. You're at the heart of everything that we do. Your board, your agents, your representatives, our officer in charge, our director. We are here to serve, service, and represent and advocate for you. And our promise to you as our brand is we will do that in the most professional and well-researched way possible. And that's why we're seeing units come to our door and say, please take us on. So thank you, George, for that, and great job over at the Superior Court. I'd like to turn it over now to Sandra, who's going to talk a little bit about Monterey.
Thank you. I wanted to just say I'm happy to report that we reached an agreement in November, December of 2024, and based on feedback from the membership, 95% were very happy with our agreement. And it's because we received a 16% wage increase with 4% increase every 6 months for the next 2 years. So that's been the richest contract we've seen in our membership ever in Monterey County. So we were very happy to report that. We also negotiated zero-cost healthcare options for our members in the first year. This is especially good considering CalPERS healthcare has risen approximately 30% in the last 2 years. And this should result in a zero-cost healthcare to our members for the next 3 years. Finally, one of the enhancements to our retirement that we were able to negotiate was a 401A that I personally am very excited and happy about. We were the only bargaining unit that were able to receive this benefit without diverting money from other areas, and we are looking to increase the amount in the next negotiating cycle. And with that, I'm passing it on to, I forget who's next.
That's me, Sandra. And thank you for that. Matter of fact, I want to take a quick second, actually, to thank you and the rest of our Monterey negotiations team, which was comprised of course, yourself, Annalisa Leal, Ginger Pierce, Dina Northcutt, and Joe Ferroti. Can't forget Zeb, who sat first chair, and thank you for captaining that team. without our team, it wouldn't be possible to achieve all the wins that you just described, Sandra, and that I'll continue with now, which is along with those wins that Sandra described, we were able to increase our bilingual pay by 50%. We increased our professional development and professional allowance stipends. We removed a costly penalty from longevity pay. This might be a reminder, or if you're a new CEMA member, first, if you're a new CEMA member, welcome to the CEMA OE3 family. And we've had essentially two bites of the apple for negotiations in Monterey. In the first bite of that apple, we were able to achieve longevity differential, which was a great win. But it did have a stipulation that if you had a break in service for 4 pay periods or more, then that clock started over for this benefit. In the second bite of the apple, we were able to remove that stipulation, which was fantastic, so that many more of our members can enter into the benefit. Or if you were already utilizing that benefit, you can go into a higher tier. So in Monterey, our longevity is tiered that if you now have cumulative county service of 10 years, you get a 2.5% bump. At 15 years, you get a 3.5% bump. And at 20 years of service, you get a 5.5% bump. So great benefit, and we were happy to enhance it. Likewise, in that first bite of the apple, in negotiations, we modeled the good work at Santa Clara County for the class and comp procedure. As you heard Zeb said, we're building upon one another. So it was really Santa Clara that took the lead here, which was great because prior to us having that language, class and comp studies took around 3 to 3.5 years to be finalized. Now that we have the language in place, every one of our studies have the intention to be finished in a single fiscal year. And as we experienced that benefit for the next few years in Monterey, we noticed that there was a few hurdles that we needed to get over. And so in this bite of the apple, we have greater checks and balances now and more time to do our due diligence and make sure that we are in agreement with all these studies. So for all of our Monterey County members on the call, just a little bit of a reminder that if you want to enjoy this new language, to please put in your submissions for these studies next month. Really looking forward to that process. And moving outside of the negotiations boardrooms, but it kind of goes hand in glove. I want to talk about a little bit of our additional achievements. First there, you'll see the Measure AA win. Measure AA is a 1% sales tax increase in the unincorporated areas of Monterey County. This was a gigantic win for Monterey because in our current fiscal year, we're projected to go into a $20 million deficit next fiscal year, FY 25-26. Measure AA rather, is projected to bring $29 million back into the county. So that's a $9 million surplus now, which it is notable that the contract that we were able to achieve was because of the richness of Measure AA. And I want to take a second just to give a really big shout out to Dolores Morales. Dolores came in, and as Monterey, we were new at ballot measures, so she got us organized, structured. She made sure our messaging was on point. She was great at fundraising. I can't really say enough about all that I learned from her. So thank you, Dolores, for doing that. And that was a great win. And additionally, we were able to support 3 labor-friendly board of supervisors. You'll see here on the next slide that we were able to support Kate Daniels, Wendy Rudascu, and Luis Alejo. 3 folks that we have really good relationships with and look forward to continuing to work with them in 2025. As you'll absolutely hear Zeb say in this presentation, I bet you always got to be able to count to 3 on the board. So here we have 3 friendly board of supervisor members, and of course with our other 2 in Monterey, this really good working relationship so far. So was happy to give you that report on Monterey. And like I said in my introduction, I'm also the primary rep for Santa Cruz County. So want to tell you a little bit about what we're doing there. Monica, you asked some questions that I'm going to get to here in just a second. But again, for a reminder, just for information for our new members, we entered into Santa Cruz County in late 2023. This is for their middle management unit that had previously been represented by an employee group that goes by the Middle Management Association, or MMA. And we've been really happy to give them professional representation and let them experience all that CEMA OE3 brings. We've also been very happy to meet with their board of supervisors, again, establishing CEMA's brand and kind of how we're different. Take a lot of pride at CEMA for being the professional union representing professional members. So as we entered into Santa Cruz, I would say, as I met with other labor representatives and members, the board of supervisors were characterized to me as being kind of labor neutral. I'm happy to report that we've had 3 very productive meetings with supervisors Koenig, Hernandez, and Cummings, each with a very positive result coming out of those meetings. So we're going to continue to build on that. And the next step that we're performing in Santa Cruz County is to have the MMA unit under the CEMA OE3 umbrella. So as we came in, you guys had an existing MOU. The local rules didn't allow us to fully unionize you until 120 days prior to the expiration of that MOU, which is next month in April. Or I'm a little early, but starts in April rather. So we're looking forward to sending out the interest cards and getting you under our full union umbrella here. But we haven't let that slow us down, that we're not quite under that full umbrella. We've been working all through 2024 to prepare for negotiations. So Adam, who's going to be sitting first chair, came down and did a great 2-day training. Lawrence Suos came down and played the county representative, and it was really fun for us to see Lawrence over on the other side of the table in a situation that he's not normally in. So we had a lot of fun. It was very informative, and we were able to build our negotiations team from there. And just want to give a quick shout out to those folks who is your current MMA executive board, consisting of Nikki Yates, Casey Conway, Todd Stosey, Myrna Guerrero, and Alvaro Lemons. I will say that with Adam sitting first chair and the members I just mentioned, along with myself, I'm very confident in what we'll be able to achieve in Santa Cruz County. We've already been working to put forward our information request. That was a 3-page document that will give us all the information we felt we needed to start negotiations. We've been drafting proposals, and we meet every other week talking about strategies and next steps. So just couldn't be more excited to get to the table as soon as possible in Santa Cruz County. And that is something that we're looking to set the dates here in the next couple of weeks. And I will be putting out a CEMA Voice to let you know when we're going to start that process, just to answer that question for Monica. And now, since you guys have heard from me for a while, I'm going to pass it over to Zeb to give you the update on Santa Clara County.
Thank you so much, Jonathan, and great report on all of our units out there. Santa Clara County, happily, one of the originators of the ladder strategy and our founding member along with the court. And I've got some exciting news to share. This is not going to be too much news for you about year one because you've already received it. But we were able to negotiate an incredibly strong economically and in terms of language. Adam's going to share about this as well. Contract. 5% in 2024, 4% wage increase in 2025, 3% in 2026. And of course, using that ladder strategy where Monterey led the charge, we were able to mirror that longevity language to get our merit service pay, which is coming up towards the end of our contract, or midway through our contract in about 12 months now. Also, similar to what everyone else has mentioned, this was an all hands effort to get this contract. If you see some of the photos here that are included in this slide, we were a little bit uncertain coming out of the pandemic. Were we going to be able to have the participation in person that we needed to move the needle politically? We don't just have a bunch of people show up so we can have a big party, right? We needed to show up so that we could push the board of supervisors and demonstrate our strength. We showed up with more people than a union 8 times our size. So that's pretty impressive. And today's number of 500, we're maxing out on our call here today, is also a credit to you. We've always known you can show up for virtual meetings. The question was, would you show up for an in-person meeting? And the answer was a resounding yes. And it made a difference. That's what allowed us to secure that merit service pay, in addition to those great annual raises. So thanks go to all of you, everyone that's on this call and participating, and anybody that's in any of these pictures that you're going to see. You help move the needle on this contract, as well as, of course, the bargaining team and the reps. Everybody had to do their piece. Also, we established compaction. Adam's going to talk a little bit more about that, but I also want to talk about the politics. As Jonathan mentioned, something you've been probably sick of hearing me talk about for the last 14 years is you've got to count to 3. All of our boards have 5 people on it. We need at least 3 votes. It's great when we can get 5, 4, but we need at least 3. And so when we're raising things up to the board of supervisors, wherever it is, whatever county or employer it's in, we need to have 3 votes. Sometimes we know we don't have the 3 votes and we raise it anyway. And we always lobby ahead of time, but we try to get those 3 votes in advance so that nobody's surprised. And again, I talked about the CEMA brand. That's the CEMA brand. It's a promise of not surprising people. It's a promise of being well-researched and coming with the facts ahead of time. Also, I want to mention that we already talked about the largest rally in CEMA's history. So we showed up, and that was also the largest rally in our 50-year history. Also, a lot of people don't talk too much about this, but I'm going to today. We only have 2 pension tiers in Santa Clara County, as we do in all our units. That's very important to note because the state changed PEPRA, Public Employee Pension Reform Act, in 2013 and made us create another pension tier. We never do that on our own, and we've been able to hold the line on that since our inception 50 years ago. If you just look next door at the city of San Jose, they have 7, count them, 7 pension plans. That means every new group that comes in has a crappier pension plan than the group that was there before them. And that's just a crime. That's a crime to future working families, and it means that they're going to have less food to put on their table when they start thinking about retirement when they're 67 or older, right? And lots of people here are able to retire at 55, take early retirement, maybe even at 50. Some of you that are on the new lesser plan, you're now paying less for it, but you still have to go until 62, 63. And that's a shame. And when we're trying to do some reform about that to get that pushed back as well. We also, one last thing before I pass it on to Adam, talk about some of the other features. Again, it's not something that's really sexy that we talk about, but we were able to keep the great healthcare plans at a hugely subsidized rate. It wasn't a change. We were able to hold the line so your rates didn't skyrocket, they didn't go up, and you still maintain the same plans. Again, people don't usually jump up and down because they just kept what they already had. But as we see those benefits being eroded in a lot of our neighbors and in the private sector, they're just saying, I've got healthcare, and they're happy about it. We've got a great healthcare plan that probably costs 20% a quarter of what your friends working at Google or Facebook are paying. Adam?
Yeah, thanks, Ed. Like Seb mentioned, one of the things that we're seeing start to bear fruit in this year from the contract that was settled last year is our compaction definition. So one of the things that CEMA really makes an effort to do in negotiations is not just put in benefits that are going to kick in $1 on day 1 of the contract, but things that will continue to bear fruit over time. And that compaction definition is something that we worked for decades, frankly, to get into the contract. It's something that uniquely impacts management level folks here in this county and in other Santa Cruz and Monterey counties as well. And in Santa Clara specifically, it was something that Even bargaining with Dr. Smith, who I would say CEMA generally partnered quite well with, was just an absolute anathema to administration. And the reason for that is it just has a question mark next to the dollar sign for how much that compaction definition is going to cost. And so it was something that, despite making it a priority for years and decades, including the last contract that I bargained with CEMA, we were just unable to move the needle on it, no matter what we could do. This is some work that, while it wasn't one of the top line dollar things that we pushed out at the time when the contract was first set up with the county, our bargaining team is and should be very proud that it was under their stewardship that for the first time we've gotten compaction language into the contract. And we did that one through some good partnership and trying to address the pain points on the county side, but also through some creative proposal writing on our side and lobbying of the board to get there. The main thing we did to help get that in is kind of gatekeep the compaction definition behind the classification study system. So there's, from the county's perspective, it's not going to be everybody jumps in year one and requests this. But we're going through those classification studies right now for 2025. We probably got one meeting left, so we'll be done going through. We had about 100+ applications this year, and I'm very happy to say that we got a good number of compaction requests from CEMA members, where now we can respond back to those folks. Yes, this compaction study is going forward, and great news now. We've got contract language that means you're going to see an adjustment, and you'll be making at least 10% more than your highest paid subordinate. Previous generations of folks from CEMA who've gone through this process will remember that sometimes we get a response back from HR that said, "Hey, good news, Zeb, you make 2% more than your highest paid employee. You're not compacted." And in other cases, we'd see responses back that said, "Oh, unfortunately, you only make 9% more than your highest paid employee, so here's a 5% raise." And it was just a very, very eclectic set of responses that generally relied upon political pushing from departments and CEMAs to get any movement on compaction. And now we've got that hard definition moving forward. And it's great to see that it's already going to start paying dividends in year one of the contract, and looking forward to the lifespan of that language continuing to pay dividends for CEMA folks. Looking at a couple more of the big accomplishments we had from last year. As we heard from Dave in the beginning here, there's some uncertain times ahead for unions, both public and private sector. We here at Santa Clara County and at Monterey and Santa Cruz as well, see a significant amount of our revenue come from federal funding sources. And while in Santa Clara County, we've got some good visibility on what the upcoming fiscal year starting in July is going to look like, 2026 and 2027 fiscal years. There's a reason to be concerned right now. Hey, Robin, could you mute yourself? Thanks.
I am.
And as we look ahead at that, we're looking back to say, we're really proud of the work. I'm particularly proud of the work I've done in the last 6 years, but just the last year particularly, we've not lost a single dues paying member to a layoff to go out the door in the entirety of my time with CEMA, including last year. And we've been through now 2 rounds of layoffs. We had fairly small, but we had a round of layoffs at last fiscal year. And now here at the mid-year review, we've had another small round of layoffs at VHP, which are still working their way through. But you can be very proud that your union's done a very good job in lobbying and getting in front of the board, pushing county executives to minimize the impact we can, to defer layoffs in some case, to save positions, and to ensure that folks that do end up going through the layoff process are going to be able to comfortably find positions elsewhere in the county. So if you get a minute and you're interested in seeing, you can check out the board meeting from last Tuesday, where very proud. I don't know if she's on the call here, but one of our VHP members, Alicia Roscoe, did a fantastic job addressing the board with me in response to the mid-year budget, and pushing the board to defer some of those layoffs, which they went along with and were able to approve, thanks to the great white paper and lobbying that we did behind the scenes and the address in public. So we have a brand of coming with solutions, other proposals, identifying other monies, and figuring out how we can make the best argument we can to help protect our positions and ensure public services. And while right now, I don't want to panic anybody, we're not in large layoffs at Santa Clara County, and we're not likely to be in the upcoming fiscal year. Past that point, a lot of it's going to depend on the federal funding environment. And it's helpful for us and for you all that CEMA continues to effectively, flex these muscles about how do we advocate for our positions in CEMA to ensure that we're not losing people out the door during budget cuts and times of layoffs. And you can know that we've always been at the forefront of whatever action we have to take to preserve your positions, whether 6 years ago, we were the ones who spearheaded the voluntary separation incentive plan, right? The golden handshake that we talked about in Santa Clara County. later in COVID, fighting to protect some whole departments, intergovernmental affairs and others that were slated for deletion and are thankfully, due to our efforts, still here with us today. We will continue to do everything we can to ensure that we're preserving our positions. And it's great that now we've got off to a good track record and a good start with our new board members, who Lawrence will be talking about in just a little bit. So they've got some experience with how CEMA approaches these budget issues, how we approach the board, the kind of arguments we bring, and that our asks are eminently reasonable and implementable on the board. That's something they can rely upon and support. Just did a couple other things we're proud of from the last year. The first one is everyone now at all our units, we're rolling this out for each of our contracts, and Santa Cruz will have one of these too, is what we're calling the CEMA Recommends version of our contract. So this is the version of the contract that all your new RMC brothers and sisters are getting. And if you've not gotten a physical copy, come by one of the site meetings in person and you'll get one of these. That's the version of the contract that has helpful advice and tips and recommendations for how to best access the benefits that are in the contract. It's a point of frustration of mine that I've been through 2 contract cycles here with the county, and both times we tried up to the last day to get the county to do just a rewrite of the contract to make it in plain English for clarity of use for both you all and for the folks that manage you. And the county's absolutely refused. It might be that's a job security for HR to have confusing language. I'm not sure. But this time what we came up with was we'll just do it ourselves. And so those particularly confusing sections of the contract, the pension language, vacation, and others, have those helpful kind of maroon text box now that explain to you, hey, here's what this section does for you. Here's how to best access this benefit. Here's a window for timing the county's not going to alert you to. You have to keep on your radar. And something that I know Zeb heard working with the court where they just bargained a contract after we came out with this is the courtside bargaining team was astonished this wasn't already industry standard for unions. And we think it's something that we will. It's something we've already heard positive feedback from other local county unions here at Santa Clara saying it's a great idea and why didn't they think of that first? Last piece to hit real quick, looking towards the acquisition of Regional Medical Center, RMC. We're the only county union who got 2 very important, we think, concessions from county administration as part of the acquisition process. Both relate to the classifications of our members. So we have maybe about 20% of hospital departments that haven't gone through the transition to become enterprise level management structures. So those folks who used to have jobs that managed 1 hospital and now manage 4 hospitals and 13 clinics, and they haven't seen an adjustment to their pay. A lot of those changes have been made in the last 5 years, but some haven't. And so we've got a particular window we're going to get to bring a good number of these classification issues with support from the department directly to James for review after acquisition. So we're looking forward to that, and we're getting folks triaged out who will have good cases to make there for enterprise adjustments. We got the same consideration as well for our regional medical center folks as they come on board. That everybody else that was placed in positions by the county, and the response from HR has basically been, hey, this is a job offer. You can either take it or leave it. But we've been able to let those folks know, hey, if you've been placed in the wrong position, we've now got a window for you, something similar to what Zeb handled in ITCC in a review of the mapping process that those folks' first experience with CEMA will be, hey, we've already been advocating for you. We anticipated what your concerns were going to be coming on board with the county, and we've got a window here to try to redress those issues. Thankfully, I would say, just kind of speaking from how it's going on the ground, most folks coming over from Regional Medical Center, it's going to be a great improvement for them. A lot of cases, pay rates are going up. They're happy with the job titles they're getting. But there's a good number of positions where that's not the case. Folks who might have been, director level titles coming down into the program manager series, and a lot of folks who are in IT adjacent kind of classifications at RMC that we just don't, mostly got triaged into associate management analyst or MA and are seeing some substantial pay cuts and losses of what they used to do for the employer. So it's great that we've got this window available to try to get some redress for those classifications. Let me go ahead and hand it off to Lawrence to talk a little bit about the importance of politics and the great wins we had last year in Santa Clara County.
Thank you, Adam. Folks, CEMA recognizes the current political environment that our public employees are in. As this new federal administration continues to take unprecedented, clearly unconstitutional, and extraordinarily harmful actions that undermine the essential services and jeopardizes crucial funding that the county relies on, we're really hopeful that our Board of Supervisors can defend and be proactive in preserving county services and respective county jobs. From this past election, CEMA is proud to announce that all 3 of our endorsed candidates, Betty Young from District 2, Otto Lee from District 3, and Margaret Abikoga for District 5 have all been elected or re-elected to serve the next 4 years. It cannot be overly stressed how important it is to build and maintain our relationships with the county supervisors, and we depend on you, the active CEMA membership, to make our political action efforts successful. As we've mentioned before, you can count on your union to continue to be engaged and advocate for our members' interests. I'll pass it on to our treasurer, Andrew Crockett.
Thank you, and hello again. I'm Andrew Crockett, your CEMA treasurer. I'm a CPA and senior healthcare financial analyst with the county health system, and as your treasurer, I am steward of CEMA's funds and financial processes and serve on your CEMA executive board. Additionally, I'm responsible for federal, state, and local taxes and filings, including for our political action committee. I am happy to report that CEMA is in great financial health. We posted a net income last year for the first time in several years. This success was in no small part due to opening an investment account last year for our union, enabling our net assets to generate interest, which, as you can see in the financial summary here, offset enough expenses to bring revenues and expenses into balance, achieving our net income. This is a feat we expect to repeat this year, reflected in our adopted budget on screen. Additionally, I am chair of CEMA's Finance and Audit Committee, where I work on improvements to our finance and accounting processes with two other members of our CEMA board at large, Jim Piazza and Mary Snow. This last year, the Finance Committee worked on modernizing our accounting procedures, and this year, the Audit Committee is overseeing CEMA having an external audit of our finances to not only ensure correct accounting processes are being followed, but also identify any potential areas to further improve our internal controls to safeguard our treasury. We take the trust the members, you, have placed in us very seriously, and we will continue to take every appropriate step to honor your trust. Now, Zeb will discuss our celebrated CEMA champions.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you for that financial report as well. I know our finances are in good hands. CEMA Champions. So some of you may be familiar with this. This is an award that has been with us for just over 2 years now, and it's relatively new. But CEMA Champions are those people that are leaders, and I'm even going to use the word hero, leaders and heroes amongst us in the workplace. Anybody on this call could be a CEMA champion. The purpose of the award is to recognize extraordinary actions or advocacy that embodies what it means to be a strong and informed union leader. So you're going to hear a little bit about a scholarship that's been dedicated for all time to one of our strongest leaders. And then you're going to hear about some of the CEMA champions that have been selected for this year. It's a rare award, so we don't want to just hand out dozens of them every year, although perhaps we could find worthy cases. But the folks that you're going to see nominated this year truly represent the very best in us and are examples that all of us should emulate. Robin?
Good afternoon, everybody. I am very proud to announce a scholarship that will be awarded in perpetuity in the name of our former CEMA Secretary, Donna Mensimer. Not only is Donna a longtime CEMA member, but she was formally recognized by the affiliate OE3 as Unionist of the Year. Donna's been a member of several negotiations teams, chairperson on several CEMA committees. More importantly, she's been my partner in crime during CEMA events, board meetings, and negotiations. Like myself, Dawn is a mom of a student who received a scholarship in the past, and the scholarship committee holds a very special place in her heart as she always enjoyed reviewing the applications and being able to award money. Not only am I honored to be Donna's friend, but I'm even more honored and proud to announce this scholarship in her name. Congratulations, Donna. Sandra?
And sorry, folks, Sandra actually let me know that her computer died. She was doing a little double duty and taking this meeting from her car. So I will take this slide. But thank you, Robin. So I'm very proud, as all of Monterey County, to have Joe Ferroti as our 2024 CEMA champion. Had the pleasure of working for Joe or with Joe for several years now. He was part of the original Monterey County uh, Management Council Executive Board, who led the charge in unionizing Monterey County. He's gone on to serve on two negotiations teams, and he always brings a level head to those negotiations where, of course, they can get very passionate, and his demeanor has always been something that has been welcomed on the team. It's been noted that at times team members have said, whenever I get flustered, I look to Joe to see how he's reacting, and it's been his steadfast personality and intellect will always bring in lots of good information to negotiations that has been critical to all of the wins that we've been able to achieve. So I just can't say enough about Joe and his contribution, and again, very happy to have him as one of our CEMA champions. And I will pass it to Zeb.
Thank you, Jonathan. George McElroy enjoys a couple of distinctions by being a CEMA champion this year. First off, he's the only current board member that is receiving this award. George, I can't say enough good things about George. He saw a need for representation on the Court Advisory Council and really stepped up. We've had incredible leaders from the court in years past. Some of you may have remembered Dimitra Alvarez, Steve Gall helped out incredibly, both in terms of IT, but also as your board member and voice. And then, of course, most recently, Laura Romero, all of whom served ably on the court advisory council and chaired that through their role as being the member at large from the court. However, with Laura's retirement from that committee and from the board, no one was speaking for the court. We sent out several messages. We had unit-wide meetings where there were more than 50 people who participated, and no one was willing to do it. Well, George said, you know what? The court needs to have a voice both on the executive board to help steer the broader union, but also on day-to-day with the CAC and its mission at the court. So he's been an architect of member expansion. You've heard about the 17, 18 members that are coming. Over half of them are from George's unit directly. They see what George embodies in the workplace and they want more of that. And that's why they're coming over. Also, in the most recent round of negotiations, of course, it was an all hands effort. Myself and Lawrence were staff assigned to that negotiation, but George was the negotiator lead with the members always in his ear and on his lips. And that helped us have a very friendly, informative negotiation where the membership was with us each step of the way. So thanks, George. It's our honor to present you with this year and keep up the wonderful work. And now I believe Carla has a few words to share with us.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Zeb. So I am so honored to share a little bit more about our final 2024 CEMA champion. So I've been at the county for 23 years, and Lawrence Michael C. Arias retired last year after 30 years. But we didn't actually meet until about 2017 when I was the e-board secretary. We were at a general meeting very much like this, but it was in person. It was pre-COVID. And some people took issue with some of the comments that I had made around equity and privilege and my pride in our work that we do as college servants. To me, it was very much non-controversial stuff, right? But so it did surprise me when not only did they have negative comments, and I can tell you, I can handle negative comments, but they actually also called for me to step down. So Lawrence Michael didn't know me at the time, but he knew what he had heard at the meeting, and he was pretty outraged by the lies. And he did something that I will always, always be so grateful for. He stood up for me. And again, at the time, we were not friends. We didn't really even know each other. And during some of those really, really dark days, it meant everything to me that he would do that. See something wrong, not be personally impacted, but committed to stand up and say so because it was the right thing to do. So clearly, I'm still here, and I'm so proud to now be your senior vice president. And I'm so grateful that at the end of this all, I really did get to know Lawrence Michael really well. He decided he needed to make sure things like that didn't happen again, and he was shortly thereafter elected to the board as well. So over the years, we became dear friends, and then that's when I learned what he did for me really was not that unusual for him. He is a person who always stands up for what he believes in, and he will always fight for what he values. I learned he's always had strongly held union values, whether it was when he was at SEIU, which we love him for, or when he was at CEMA, which was fabulous, or now even with the Screen Actors Guild, as he's an incredible actor going deeper into that work now that he's retired. So while at the county, he did so many things. He updated the Professional Development Committee, and you all may remember him as he has this incredible flair and gift for emceeing events. He also organized a small group of us so that CEMA members could march together at the Silicon Valley Pride Parade, and stay tuned. We're going to do that this year again. August 31st is the date. And he didn't let retirement and end his commitment to CEMA. And in fact, he continues to be an active member of the retiree committee, working on outreach to build membership and to continue to address union values for all. So for these reasons, and for so many more, for bringing joy and theater and tech support and so much love and integrity to CEMA, we congratulate Lawrence Michael C. Arias as the 2024 CEMA champion. And now I know we're almost at the end, but I'm going to turn it over to Dolores and Zeb to go over our priorities and wrap things up.
Thank you so much, Carla, and thank you, members, for staying with us. So our priority for 2025, first of all, is you. You are the most important priority that we have, especially now with the budget and our financial uncertainty. We want to make sure that there's a lot of communication with our members, not only in the site meetings, but communication as we're moving forward, as we're navigating these challenging times. Also, our union contract negotiations start the minute after we sign our last contract. So we're always looking for ways of strengthening our contract language and to protect your rights. We also understand that with uncertainty, people are concerned for their safety, for their stability. And so we want to make sure that we are taking care of our members in a way that's safe. And whatever that means to you, we're here for you. We're also going to strive to improve our political and organizational infrastructure. It is really important to get involved, and there's many ways to do so. We absolutely need you now more than ever. The union is only as strong as its members. And we know as middle managers, we are seen as strong, intelligent, and we are capable of doing many things. We also support the best, most intelligent, and most qualified candidates to be our bosses. And so one of the ways that we do that is we were able to hire a PR firm to help us run our campaigns. And through collaboration with many of the other county unions, we were able to do so in this last election year. We want to be able to improve that moving forward and being effective in running and being involved in political campaigns. So many of us have benefited from being around and knowing each other. I, with many of my CEMA board members, have strong friendships, been mentored. And the way that we were able to do that is by having and exposing you to each other. And so we are hoping to increase our in-person events so that you have an opportunity to meet, get to know each other, and hopefully build strong relationships. I'm going to turn it over to Zeb.
Wonderful, Dolores. So we're using tools in better ways than we ever have before. As you saw with today's meeting, we're using Zoom, Teams, YouTube, SurveyMonkey, in-person meetings, and exciting new types of professional development events that are going to improve and have improved all aspects of work life, from contract employment and contract enforcement, to local employer rules, what we call merit system rules in Santa Clara County, relationships with directors, and as Dolores mentioned, including you, that you are at the center of all of these conversations. So as you can see, I've just posted in chat, we want to hear from you. This is our survey where we're asking all current members. We have a different survey for members that are leaving and a different survey for brand new members that have just joined us. This is for the bulk of our membership. How are we doing? Let us know. This is something that our reps are going to be paying close attention to. And on a quarterly basis, we're presenting to your executive board so we can make tweaks and adjustments and better serve you, right? There's comments in every survey question. So even if there's an answer that doesn't best capture what your sentiments are, you can put it there, and these are going to be read by everybody on your board and the agents. So we will take it to heart. Also, you can be proud of your unit and union. Every unit in CEMA is growing and being approached by people who want to join us. We're excited by the court expansion we were just talking about. Adam is off now, just left and is on his way to Regional Medical Center for our acquisition there, where we're looking at new members. And at the board's direction, we're looking at expanding to confidential staff in Santa Clara County. That's both administrative and clerical confidential. It's a group we already know the politics of the employer. We already have the relationships with the department heads and administration. It makes so much sense for us to expand our reach and representation. So we have some exciting news for you there as well. There's a lot to be excited about this coming year, and CEMA's poise and power will be felt all throughout our units. And I'm asking each of you to proudly carry that tradition of working hard, serving our residents, accomplishing both our mission as a union, but our employer's mission, because that's so critical too. Without the hard work that we're doing in the employer and keeping those dollars coming so we can hire staff to do the work that we need to do, then we don't have a role. So it's so important for you to do your work well so the union can do its work well. Just carry that tradition every day. And we're very proud. I'm very proud of you, and I want to thank everybody that's joined this call. And I'd like to turn it over to Mary Beth, who will share some of those great questions that you've been asking in the Q&A. While I realize we're over, just before I hand it over to Mary Beth, we're going to stick around for another 15 minutes or so, and then we'll answer the questions that we didn't get a chance to today in an FAQ that will be sent out if we don't get to everything in the next 15 minutes. I appreciate most people had an hour. Thanks for sticking with us.
Okay, and we had a couple of folks who were diligently answering questions that could be done quickly in the chat. But so for the first question we got was, when exactly do negotiations for Santa Cruz County start? I don't remember hearing a date earlier.
Thank you, Mary Beth. I can take that. So we are actively working with the CAO and personnel department head to schedule those meetings. We have a few tentative dates for May, but we're looking to start negotiations a little bit earlier than that. We want at least 6 months to run up to the September expiration date of the current MOU. So that's kind of a little bit in progress. But again, as I said, look for the CEMA Voice. I will be updating everybody in Santa Cruz on the exact dates when we can finalize that. We're meeting with Carlos, the CAO, here on the 10th of next month to do that.
All right. Thank you. Next question was, is longevity pay, and I think this came from a Santa Clara County person, but is the longevity pay pensionable?
So I can answer that. If depending on where it came from, the answer is yes or it's no. So if it's coming from Santa Clara County, the way that it's structured in Santa Clara County, no, it is not pensionable. If it is coming from Monterey County, the answer is yes, it is a pensionable benefit. And it just depends on where it's coming from. So hopefully that's as clear as it can be. Santa Clara County, no. Court, no. And Monterey County, yes.
Thank you. VHP, can they get an update on the layoffs debacle?
Sure. So that's in Adams area. VHP stands for Valley Health Plan. It's one of our departments in Santa Clara County. If you could be, so what I believe this member is describing, and please put in chat if I'm not answering it correctly. There was a layoff announcement that was published in VHP. It applied, long story short, We have very specific layoff language. The least senior people are the ones who get the layoff notice. Valley Health Plan screwed up the seniority list and noticed the wrong people. Okay, so that panicked people who shouldn't have been noticed that they were getting laid off. And then it took a month for the county to get us an updated list. And now we have a corrected list, and the correct people have been noticed. So I think that's the debacle that's being referred to. The county made an error. It has been corrected. The union was, I'm going to characterize this as right all along. And then also through some good advocacy at the board on Tuesday, VHP members and Adam were able to speak and persuade the board with our white paper to pull back 2 of those 6 layoffs. Very, very small. I don't want anyone to leave this call and think, oh my gosh, the county's going through a big layoff process. It's 6 people and nobody's going out the door. They're just going to be reassigned through our layoff process.
Thank you. I got a specific question for Superior Court. What is the language for the remote work policy? I don't know if we have that easily accessible. That might have to come out in the frequently asked questions.
Sure, and we can post it in FAQ. If you go to our website, SCCEM, can someone please post our website in chat, one of the reps, please? If you go to our website, you can look at the court MOU, Memorandum of Agreement contract, and you can see specifically the remote work language. So how it works is there, just briefly, you can check it out for yourself. Thank you, Jonathan. There are specific classifications that are called out as primarily remote work, and those are where they're, working, like I say, really you're looking at, 95% of the time is remote. They're only coming in once a month, once every 2 months.
We have the Santa Clara County class studies. There was a question about updates. I believe that that was handled by Adam, but if you have a particular update that you didn't hear, whoever asked that question, please feel free to throw that into general chat now, and we'll make sure that's on the frequently asked questions.
And our classification committee is meeting at least once a week right now. And we will be publishing the results of that. We haven't made any final determinations yet. We're still looking for Santa Clara County at all of the applications that were already received. I just want to remind folks, it's a different process that Jonathan mentioned for Monterey and a different timeline.
Great. A question regarding, I believe this is going to be Santa Clara County, for the 2026 3% cost of living increase. Does that replace the 3.5% service recognition pay?
No, they're cumulative. So you will get in the final year of the contract, you will be eligible for both the general wage increase, which everybody gets. And then if you've met the criteria of the longevity, the merits, it's called merit service pay, think longevity, merit service pay, then you also get that in addition. So you could get, 6.5% in the 3rd year of the contract if you're eligible.
There was a question about differentiating between education versus tuition reimbursement. That might be too long for today, but could we get that into the frequently asked questions, Zeb?
Sure. And we've merged both of those banks. There shouldn't be too much difficulty now because we've merged both of those banks into one.
For Santa Clara County.
For Santa Clara County. I should say buckets. They're buckets of reimbursement money.
Okay. There was a very general question about a Santa Clara County probation update, but there was no question. Just can you update probation for, oh, wait a minute. She replied, Santa Clara County probation telework arbitration.
Lawrence, I think you're the expert on that one.
Not hearing.
Did Lauren step out maybe?
Yeah, I'm not seeing him.
Okay, we'll have to put that then in the FAQ. I know that it's moving forward, but I don't know the details. Like I don't know if there's a date that's been set or anything. Do you happen to know, Dolores? Okay.
Okay. When does Santa Clara County at large begin negotiating a new contract? I don't think that's going to be until
Probably not for another year and a half. We
Yeah.
don't have a date yet. It's a 3-year agreement that we've inked, and yeah, probably in a year and a half would be my guess, but we haven't established that yet.
Okay, and we got another question about the longevity pay, 2 questions about eligibility for that in Santa Clara County.
Okay, so the eligibility is that you've been here longer than 10 years and that the last 3 evaluations are positive. So, or excuse me, neutral or positive. So introduced into our evaluation system, there are 3 checkboxes. Needs improvement, meets standard, something to this effect. Forgive me if I don't get the exact language correct. Something to the effect of needs improvement or below expectations, then one that says meets expectations, and then one that says exceeds expectations.
Thank you. And then the final question, and we'll be right on time, is in the new contract. And Zeb, could you go ahead and post again the link for the survey, just for folks who, because we've actually had a couple people come in since you posted that.
Sure, there it is.
And then
Please
the
take that
last,
survey.
yeah, the last question was, in the new contract, does CalPERS calculation change from 11% to 7.5%? I think everybody should have already seen that.
Yeah, so it's an interesting question. When you say calculation, the CalPERS calculation is the same, but what you pay for it has gone down. So I'm not sure I understand the question. And it's different if you're in a classic plan versus a PEPRA plan, you pay different rates. So I'm not sure that I can intelligently answer that question. It is 15. I misspoke. I said 10. For Melissa, you're correct. It's 15. For Santa Clara County, it is 15. It's different for for Monterey and for the court.
Okay. I think that we are good. We are right at time. Do we know when the recording will be posted and what is the target date on the frequently asked questions?
Well, I'll post this video later today. I don't know if you can send all the reps that, Mary Beth, we can get it out. I don't know, let's say mid next week.
Frequently asked questions?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I want you to stay on when we're done with the meeting because some of these I didn't keep track. I unfortunately didn't keep track of which ones we're putting in frequently asked questions. So
okay.
But we got to all the questions, just some of them we have deferred.
There are some other questions that have been posted here. Like I see Martin put one here. How can HR defer class studies with impunity? They shouldn't be able to. They should be doing that within a year. But if that's not happening, we can file a grievance over it. So yeah, whatever questions are still in chat, I think we should put, and then all the reps can answer them.
And then back to the longevity pay is how do you make sure it happens? You have to be proactive. It does not happen automatically because you're at 10 years and get 3 positive performance appraisals.
And it's 15. I misspoke.
Oh, 15.
Correct.
Sorry,
that
15.
It is 15. Yeah. Yeah. So you want to submit that as soon as it's available to you, Christina. And like I say, with the other units that we have, we did have some retroactivity for one of the units, but it really wasn't an issue. It was one pay period that the employer was late.
And the earliest is going to be in 2026 because it started with the performance appraisals. The first one that you could have had done that accounts towards this is in 2024.
Yep.
So 2024, 25, and 26.
You'll get it from HR, Christina, and the paperwork hasn't been posted yet because nobody's eligible for it yet.
Okay.
Any closing remarks, Dolores?
I just want to say thank you very much for attending. We hope that this was beneficial. Please keep in touch with us. Let us know what's happening. We will be communicating as we know and understand more about what's happening with the budget. And again, I want to thank Tim Neep, our Public Employees Director, who's here and is very supportive of our unit. They represent the entire state of, actually 4 states. So thank you so much for being here and always being supportive. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you,
Thank you,
everybody.
everybody. Bye.
Thanks, Mary Beth.
everyone. Bye. Thank you.
So there was a question about reaching out. It's best to do it by, we have a website, help@scema.org. That would be the best way to reach